Close your eyes for a moment and imagine you are sitting in your home. Maybe you're sitting down to dinner, or maybe you're playing with your children. Maybe you're even taking a nap. Whatever you may be doing, it is just a normal day for you. Then suddenly, you hear a strange noise. You look out the window, but you don't see anything, and so you let your guard back down and continue about your routine. Out of nowhere, a stranger kicks down your door and rushes straight towards you. You try to fight them off, but suddenly you feel woozy and very sleepy. Then suddenly all you see is black. When you finally awake, you are in a strange place, and there are people standing all around, staring at you and taking pictures with bright lights. You try to leave, but suddenly you are in a cage. This is what happens to big cats such as tigers, lions, and leopards when they are poached from their homelands and sold across the world for the exotic pet trade. These majestic animals do not belong in tiny cages in roadside zoos, where they are often neglected and mistreated and sometimes killed. They should be left to live in their natural habitat like God intended. Exotic pets, specifically big cats, have been used as pets in the United States since the late 1800s. Today, the exotic pet trade is a multi-billion-dollar industry, only third to drug and weapon trafficking. And currently, there are approximately 10,000 wild cats in captivity, which is more than the number of big cats still in the wild. Many of these cats do not live in zoos or dedicated sanctuaries, where although it is not their natural habitat, they are given ample space and fed a healthy diet. Instead, many big cats are kept in roadside zoos, where they are crammed into small cages and often fed an insufficient diet. Not all of the states in the United States regulate the ownership of big cats and other exotic animals. While some states completely ban the ownership of big cats, some states have absolutely no regulations, and the rest fall in between. Because there are not many nationwide laws, many people find loopholes to transporting and breeding big cats right in their own backyards. Currently, the Captive Wildlife Safety Act prohibits the interstate and foreign trade of exotic cats, including lions, tigers, leopards, cheetahs, jaguars, and cougars for the pet trade. However, circuses, zoos, wildlife rehabilitation centers, and other licensed facilities are exempt. These exemptions are given because, according to the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, an accrediting organization, a true sanctuary exists to provide lifetime care to animals who have been abused, neglected, discarded, or otherwise in need of help. A true sanctuary does not breed or allow hands on interaction with animals, and it maintains high standards of care and operation. Many of these animals that are sent to true animal sanctuaries come from roadside zoos and from people that had big cats as pets and found that they could no longer care for them. There are a few nationwide laws that have been put in place to protect exotic animals. The Endangered Species Act and Legacy Act were put in place in 1973 and forbid anyone from taking any species on a list created and maintained by the Secretary of the Interior conjunction with the Fish and Wildlife Service. These laws require manpower to enforce them, and unfortunately, the Fish and Wildlife Service only employs about 250 agents nationwide. And with thousands of big cats being kept as pets across the US, it is almost impossible to ensure that they were all legally obtained. Because the law states that big cats cannot be sold across state lines, most breeders just document the sale as a donation and take the payment under the table. Most breeders sell cubs to roadside zoos. All throughout the US, people are lining up and paying hundreds of dollars to pet and take pictures with big cat cubs. What most people don't realize is these cubs were most likely illegally obtained. They were snatched away from their mother after just a few short minutes, and after about 8 weeks, they are no longer valuable to the owner because they are now too big and becoming too dangerous for petting and picture taking. Oftentimes, once cubs turn 8 weeks and are no longer valuable, they are either placed in small cages and often neglected or killed. If they are lucky, the cub will be used for breeding more cubs, for the owner to sell or to use for more cub petting exhibits. Many of the big cats are used as breeding factories. Once a litter is born, they are taken away from the mother as soon as possible so that she will go into heat faster and be ready to breed again. This treatment is completely inhumane, and the animals are treated solely as a way to make money. After about 8 weeks, a tiger cub specifically can seriously injure someone. The exotic pet business not only affects humans and animals not involved in the trade, because wild animals have the ability and potential to attack their owners or spread disease such as Ebola or SARS. During the popular Netflix series Tiger King, one of the employees of Joe Exotic Zoo, Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park, had her hand bitten off by one of the tigers she was tending to. Many seem to forget that although they are born and bred in captivity, they are still wild animals at heart. And when they see humans, they do not see loving owners. They see either a predator or prey. There is no way to train the wildness out of a big cat. They are not domesticated like traditional cats and dogs, and if given the opportunity to, they can seriously injure their owners or caretakers. There have been hundreds of deaths attributed to exotic animals that are being held in captivity. Many owners find quickly that big cats are very expensive and time consuming to own. Although the initial cost of a tiger cub can be as little as $200, just in the first year, a tiger cub can cost around $100,000 and around $10,000 annually after that. And with a lifespan of around 20 years, that can be a great financial burden if you are not prepared for it. Additionally to that, big cats need many vaccinations, but it is difficult to find a reputable veterinarian that will provide care for privately owned big cats. Most exotic pet veterinarians work exclusively for zoos and reputable rehabilitation centers. The future of many big cats is a life of neglect and abuse, where their owners cannot handle them anymore. Deciding to own a big cat is taking on a high level of responsibility for these animals, one that most people find overwhelming after the first couple of years. Most big cat owners claim they are helping to increase the number of endangered animals by raising them in captivity so they can be released into the wild. However, they will never release them because they would not survive, mostly because they have been raised in captivity, so they would not know how to fend for themselves, but also because of their genetics. Many big cats are crossbred between subspecies, so they would not be properly adapted for life in any one part of the world. Nearly half of all cat species are endangered, and the booming illegal wildlife industry is only contributing to the continuing decline of wild big cats. The industry must be properly regulated, and the ownership and sale of exotic animals, specifically big cats, should be made completely illegal. If we continue to have different rules for different states, there will continue to be loopholes and people will continue to get over on the law. This inhumane treatment of animals must be stopped. They cannot speak up for themselves, so we must speak up for them.